Hello and welcome to Louise Singleton Creations. Today's video is a collaboration with Wendy from Toonpish Crafts. We thought that it would be fun to each make a video inspired by one of the other's videos. It was a really easy choice for me because I had been so inspired by one of Wendy's recent videos where she made a pyramid, and on the inside she used a solid silicone pyramid and kept twisting it to create really amazing patterns. And really, you've got to see it to understand what I'm talking about. It really was amazing. So if you want to head over and have a look at Wendy's videos, I will put the link to Toonpish Crafts in my video description. So on to today's project. I'm going to be making this beautiful terrarium using the technique inspired by Wendy's video. I hope you enjoy it and I hope you're inspired to have a go yourself. Get comfy and enjoy the video. Before we begin, I just wanted to take a moment to clarify that this video is about how to make the resin terrarium. It's not specifically for how to plant one. So if you need a video with planting advice, I'm really sorry, but this is the wrong one. I used the wrong plants in mine. It was my first ever attempt and I didn't really know what I was doing. So yeah, here's the wrong video for planting guidance. I do apologise for that. In Wendy's video, she made a solid silicone pyramid, which is what inspired me to make my hollow pyramid. But I didn't actually have enough silicone. And so, because of that, I thought of a different plan. And I'm quite pleased with the different plan because it's easier to demould. So what I'm doing is I've taken an old silicone pyramid mould, which was damaged. Luckily, I hadn't thrown it away. If you've made pyramids before, you will know that sometimes the pyramid fuses to the mould and wrecks the mould, which is so annoying. And it happens to us all. It had happened to me, and I've got several of these moulds which are damaged on the inside, but I didn't throw them away, I kept them. And luckily, I keep these things just in case I have another use for them one day, and I did. Because on the outside, it's perfect, it's not damaged at all. And so for this purpose, it exactly fits the bill. And what I'm going to be doing with it is filling it with plaster of Paris so that I've got a solid pyramid to go on the inside of my main pyramid mould to form a hollow pyramid. And I'm just marking out where I want my plaster to go up to because I'd already decided on what size I wanted my inner pyramid to be. And then I will just fill that with plaster. So put your mould into the base, make sure it's completely level, then mix up your plaster and pour it in. What I do, and I've done it throughout this video, is I fill it with water first to find out what volume I need, and then I mix up my materials after that. So I've mixed up my plaster, just need to pour it in. It was a bit lumpy, but it didn't matter. As long as you've got that solid base, the quality doesn't matter so much. The plaster's cured and I've just got a strip of cardboard and I'm going to mark a line along each edge. And that cardboard is just making sure the line's the same on each side so that I know where the corners are to add my screws, because you need something attached to it so that you can rest it on the top of your pyramid mould, which you'll see in a minute. And so, yeah, I need to attach some battens to this to stop it from sinking into my main pyramid. I lost the footage, but once that was done, I trimmed down the silicone mould so it was exactly the same size as the plaster pyramid. And I just used a craft knife and a ruler. So now I just need to attach 2 battens of wood. I've drilled the holes and I also drilled the hole through the wood. However, what I would do if I was doing this again is I would make bigger holes and put roll plugs in there first, just like you would if you were drilling your wall in your home. Yeah, should have done that, and I don't know why I didn't. I really don't. But anyway, put your roll plugs in, then screw the battens into place. I did actually have to go back and shorten my battens later on because I realised that it wouldn't fit in my pressure pot. Before I could use this, I just needed to use some strong duct tape just to tape the silicone to the plaster pyramid and keep it in place, because I realised that it was just going to drop off once I put it into position over my pyramid mould. So just stick it in. As you can see, it doesn't really stick to the silicone, not properly, but it sticks enough to keep it in place. And I threaded it underneath the batten because there was a little bit of a gap, and then put it round over the top. And I later found out that it works better if you do this on all 4 sides, not just the 2 sides that you can see here. And now we're ready to make our pyramid. Before mixing my resin, I did fill the mould with water, and I put the inner mould inside and then measured the water so I knew what volume of liquid I would need. And then I mixed my resin. Now, you've got a choice with your resin. If, like me, you're putting yours into a pressure pot to get rid of the bubbles, then you can use a regular casting resin, but the pressure pot will get rid of the bubbles. But if you're not lucky enough to have a pressure pot, I would recommend a deep casting resin, which cures very slowly over a few days, but in that time the bubbles have enough time to disperse by themselves, and that's why deep casting resin is designed to cure so slowly. But like I said, I've got a pressure pot, and so I took the risk to use a regular casting resin, which is Resin Pro Transparent. And I say it was taking a risk. The reason it's a bit of a risk is if you use a resin that's not recommended for deep casting, it can overheat if you pour it too deeply. But I thought the fact that it's got that inner pyramid on the inside and it's just thin walls that you're actually casting, it's not quite the same as doing a deep solid casting. If you imagine if that inner pyramid wasn't there and I was just letting it cure as it is, as you see it now, that would definitely overheat. But because you're putting that pyramid on the inside, my logic tells me that it's not going to be as bad. I know I'm rambling. I'm trying to explain myself, but I hope that makes a little bit of sense. So once I'd put half the resin in and run my stirring stick along the edges and the points right at the bottom, just to get rid of any air bubbles that could have been trapped, I just placed the inner pyramid on the base of my pyramid, as you can see. Thank goodness for pictures because my words aren't working very well. Anyway, placed it on the top and then filled the rest of the resin up from the side. Mine was ready to demould after about 6 hours, but if you're using a deep casting resin such as Resin Pro Epoxy Table, or let me think of another one, Elichem Deep Cast, that's another one I've used, you will need to leave it a good few days before it's rigid enough to demould. Right, once it's cured, that inner plaster pyramid just pulls out, as you can see, and you're left with the silicone on the inside. So then all you need to do is take off that silicone cover from your inner pyramid and you're nearly there. Then pop it out of the base and take off the exterior mould. And there you have it, the top of the terrarium is complete. Okay, it's time to make the base. Now, because you only want a partial pyramid for the base of the terrarium, you do need to block the bottom of the pyramid. And I decided to use silicone rubber for that. I'm just using one that I had left over. It's not a very good one. It doesn't need to be a very expensive one. It just needs to be something to block the bottom of the pyramid, and it works absolutely fine. It's just, like I say, a cheap one from eBay. It's really thick and hard to use, but if I can find a link to it, I will. Just because, you don't need an expensive one, and you might want to have a look at this cheap one on eBay. Again, I worked out how deep I wanted my base to be, and I worked it all out with water first, so I knew what volume of silicone I would need. And then I did it with the silicone. As you can see here, I've done tape on all four sides this time of that inner pyramid, just to make sure that the silicone kept in place better. I should have done that with the first one, but you learn as you go along. So yeah, I've just placed it in position, and I need to wait for that silicone to cure. Once the silicone was cured, I left it there. I didn't take anything out. And then I filled up the rest of the space with my Resin Pro transparent resin. And if you're wondering, you can reuse the silicone pyramid that's in the bottom. Once you've made that pyramid once, you can use it again and again and again. You don't need to go through this process every time you want to make the terrarium base. And again, I will say, there's no way of getting rid of the bubbles with a torch in this kind of technique. So if you haven't got a pressure pot, make sure you use deep casting resin and get rid of as many of the air bubbles as you can before you pour it in. Now, when I made the top part, I found that the wooden sticks in places touched the resin. The resin got too close and it stuck to the sticks, and I had to kind of disconnect them with my knife. So for this one, I used aluminium tape on there, so that if the resin did get too close, I could just peel the tape off the sticks, take the whole thing out, and then just sand down any places where that had happened. Like with a lot of my videos, what you see is my first attempt, and I do learn these things as I go along, and mistakes happen, and I need to find a way around them. And I think if I do this again, I will maybe elevate it a little bit away from the base, maybe by having, I don't know, a stack of books or DVDs or something go on both sides, just to make the sticks rest on those instead of the base of the pyramid mould. And because I did have that problem with the sticks sticking to the resin, I did unscrew them to make it easier to get everything to pieces. Then the demoulding process is just the same as before. You see that tape doesn't stick too badly, so it comes off really easy. And the other great thing is that the silicone didn't stick to the silicone, which I was really, I didn't know whether it would or not. I just took the gamble and hoped that the silicone wouldn't stick to the other silicone, and it didn't. Thank goodness. Although saying that, it wouldn't have mattered really if it had. It could have just been a permanent fixture, and you know, for next time it would already be there, and I would just keep that mould just for doing the terrarium bases. So that's what I was thinking when I did it, that it wouldn't be the end of the world if it did stick. Although saying that, it would have been a bit of a problem if this inner one had stuck, wouldn't it? Yeah, didn't want that to happen. What you can do if you're unsure with your silicone that you're using, cover it with petroleum, cover your inner pyramid mould with petroleum jelly just to make sure that nothing sticks to it. That's just your good safety option. And when I took it out, it was still a little bit bendy, so I just put it back into that base just to keep it in shape while it completely cured. Now it's time to block the bottom of the base. I'm using a square of sticky back plastic, any will do. And before that, let me just show you. The top side of the pyramid has a kind of channel because, as with when you make anything, it's always raised at the edges. Like, you know, if you make coasters and things, you get that little ridge. And so I got the little ridge on both sides, and it caused it to have like a channel. And that's a really good thing because it meant that when I fill the base in, I can also fill that channel in to get a lovely smooth effect. So I'm just sticking the sticky back plastic into position, and then I will just tape it as well to make sure, extra doubly sure, that it's not going to leak. Once that was done, I could fill the bottom with resin, and you don't need a lot. Just as long as it's completely covered and you've got no holes, you don't want any holes in there. And then you can cover the top edge as well. Like I mentioned before, it will fill up nice and easily because it's got kind of a ridge on the inside and the outside. And then you'll get a nice smooth finish. And this is really helpful if, like me, your stick, when you were making it, if your stick stuck to the resin and you had to sand it down because you made a mess like I did. It just covers up any mistakes and it makes a lovely smooth finish. Once it's cured, you can just peel off that bottom tape and it's finished. You might notice that it will be a little bit cloudy looking, that bottom layer, because of the sticky back plastic. But it doesn't matter, does it? Because you're never going to see it once the soil's in there. You won't see the base. And by this point in the video, you might be thinking, oh, what a complicated process. It's a bit of a lot to do. But you know, it's not really. If you're going to make a lot of these, it's only the first one, like this one, like in the video, this was my first one. It's only the first one where you have to do all these different steps. Because once you've got all those pieces made, you can easily make another one the next time. So then we were ready to fill the terrarium, which is the fun part. Now, like I said before, I'm not an expert on these things. So if you want to learn how to do all this, it's best to do your own research because I've used the wrong kind of plants. These ones work in an open terrarium, not a closed one, which I found out after I'd planted them. So there we have the finished piece, and I really love it. What do you think? I think I will definitely make some more and do my research and get the correct plants for the next one. But yeah, overall, I'm really, really happy with this. And so is my husband, because he claimed it very quickly, like he does with a lot of my things, which I'm happy with. I'm happy that he's happy. So, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. And please go and visit Wendy's channel, Toonpish Crafts, and see what video she made, which was inspired by one of my videos. And if you just click on the picture in the top right, you will go directly to Wendy's channel. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.